Hi everyone, I'm Jenny, and this is my story. 2 weeks before my wedding, I found a note on my parents' kitchen counter. Wedding's off. Expect a call from my lawyer. No explanation, just silence. The worst part, they used my wedding plans for someone else, my own sister, Karen. My money, my venue, even my dress, were all reassigned like I never existed. What kind of family does that? And what happened 48 hours later that changed everything? I promise, you won't believe it. I arrived at my parents' house earlier than usual that morning, planning to drop off the final cake samples and invitations. The sun hadn't fully risen yet, casting a soft, orange glow on the quiet Charleston neighborhood. I let myself in through the side door as always, expecting the usual sounds: the television, my mom's teacup, but the house was eerily still. That's when I saw it, a single sheet of paper, folded in half on the counter where my mom usually left cheerful post-it notes. This wasn't her handwriting. This wasn't blue ink with loopy curves. It was black, sharp, and cold. Wedding's off. Expect a call from my lawyer. For a moment, I froze. My mind went completely blank, unable to process that 7 words had just destroyed a year of planning. I didn't scream or cry. I didn't even text my fiancé Jace. I just picked up my phone and typed one word back to my mother: understood. I drove home in silence. The roads were empty, but all I could hear was the ringing in my ears. I didn't go to work that day. I just sat on the edge of my couch, replaying every conversation from the past month. Was it when I disagreed about the number of guests? Or when I told Karen she couldn't bring a +1, she just started dating? This wasn't a sudden tantrum. Someone had planned this. By nightfall, I still hadn't heard from them. No call, no follow-up, but I got something else. A message from my cousin, Courtney, popped up on my screen. Hey, I think this was meant for someone else, but it showed up in my email. You should see it. Attached was a screenshot of a group chat titled Monroe Family Wedding Changes. My heart pounded as I scanned the names. Julia, Karen, Lyall. They had been planning a restructured celebration. The same venue, the same guest list, just with my younger sister, Karen, as the new centerpiece. My name was replaced on the florist's invoice, and the photographer's new timeline listed Karen and Zach as the couple. I wasn't just removed, I was erased. I stared at the screen, rereading the messages. Karen had even joked in one message, "At least now the photos will be cute." My mom replied with a heart emoji. My fingers trembled, my vision blurred, not from tears, but from a cold, quiet fury. I had trusted them to manage the venue, the deposits, and the scheduling, because they were family. They said it would be easier that way. Easier to erase me. I thought back to my mom insisting on a neutral dress so you don't overshadow the room, or my dad telling me he'd handle the final payment. Don't worry, sweetie, we've got it covered. This wasn't about cost or logistics. This was intentional. They didn't just pull the rug out from under me. They'd wrapped me in it and dragged me out the door while replacing me with a smile. And they didn't think I'd fight back. They miscalculated. BAFTA. I opened a new folder on my laptop titled, "For the Record." I started dragging in screenshots, receipts, and messages one by one. I wasn't doing this to convince anyone. I was doing it to protect myself. I finally understood something I should have realized a long time ago. They never planned to share the spotlight with me. I was just a placeholder until someone better came along. I whispered, "They think I won't fight." That's the only part they got wrong. 2 weeks before the note, I had a dress fitting. My cousin Julia insisted we use the same boutique she went to. She didn't show up, but Karen did. She strolled in late, coffee in hand, with a rehearsed smile. "Oh, I didn't know you were here today." The boutique owner looked confused. "You're not the bride." Karen laughed it off as a mix-up, sat down, and started scrolling through her phone. When I walked out of the fitting room, she snapped a photo. "Lighting is perfect in here," she said, not even asking. I should have walked out. Then, the next day, the boutique emailed me. Final adjustments complete per updated measurements. Order ready for pickup under Karen Monroe. My dress literally. The boutique said it was per family request. I didn't respond. I just sat at my kitchen table for hours. Out of habit, I opened the boutique's Instagram, and there it was, a video reel. So happy for Karen. Perfect fall wedding. I watched it. Karen walked down the aisle in my dress, at my venue, with my string quartet playing my song. Every frame glowed like a magazine spread. Not once was I mentioned. I wasn't even a ghost at the party. That night, I waited until the apartment was quiet before I called Jace. He was in Atlanta. You didn't see it yet, did you? I asked. See what? He said. I paused. They canceled it. His voice dropped. Our wedding. Not canceled, I said. Hijacked. They gave it to Karen. There was a long silence. Then, evenly, he asked, do you want to sue them? Not yet, I said. But I've started saving everything. Saying it aloud made it real. In that moment, I was grateful for silence. That didn't feel like rejection. After we hung up, I sat alone, watching the video again. Julia stood up for the toast. To the daughter who made the family proud, she said. I hit pause. Not a daughter. Not our daughters. The daughter. She was right. Karen had made them proud because she played their game. She kept her mouth shut and smiled when they told her who to love and what to wear. I used to think I was the rebellious one, the disappointment. But maybe all I did wrong was try to live a life they couldn't control. My laptop stayed closed on the kitchen table. I got up, walked to a drawer, and pulled out my old phone, the cracked one I stopped using years ago. It was mostly dead weight, but it still had photos and voice memos from years past. Deep down, I was hunting for proof I wasn't losing my mind. A holiday dinner from 2021. I must have accidentally left my phone recording on the table. When I pressed play, Julia's voice filled the room. She's a sweet girl, but she's just not like Karen, not driven, not special. She's fine. That word fine cut deeper than anything else. It wasn't rage or rejection, it was dismissal. I also found an old voicemail from my ex, Colton. 6 years ago, he had been the first person I truly let in. But he suddenly left me with a message. I'm sorry, I can't do this. I think your family was right. I'm not enough. For years, I thought he'd fallen out of love. Now, I understood. My family was right. He didn't say, you were wrong. I reached for my water glass. No tears left. I walked to the cabinet above the fridge where I kept documents, the mortgage I signed alone, the wedding venue receipts. Every page confirmed something deeper than mismanagement. This wasn't chaos, it was strategy. They'd taken my wedding, my voice, my dress. What else had they stolen in the name of family? A moment later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I usually let them go, but something in my gut made me answer. Jenny. The voice asked, nervous, familiar. It was Colton. I heard about your wedding, and I thought maybe you should know more about what happened back then. I leaned forward. I'm listening. He didn't hesitate. She threatened me, Jenny. She called my office, told my manager I was involved with someone with mental instability. She said if I really loved you, I'd walk away so you could focus on yourself. I gripped the kitchen counter. Something inside me collapsed, not like a building, more like a dam that quietly cracks. I'm sorry, he said. I know it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't, I said, my voice nearly flat. But thank you for telling me. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee going cold. I called Jace. I need you to be honest with me. I said, I know what this is about. He said. He told me about a folder my mother had shown him before the proposal. Inside were copies of my old credit statements, notes about my panic attacks, after college, even an ER bill. She also had a prenup drafted. Did you sign it? No, he said. But I also didn't tell you. I didn't want to cause a rift. I said thank you and ended the call. I walked into my bedroom and pulled a small metal box from my closet. Inside were the documents Julia had always said to hold on to just in case, the venue deposit confirmation with my name on it, the floral invoice from my nonprofit's account, and at the bottom, a budgeting agreement she'd handed me 2 months ago. I had signed it without much thought. What I held now was no budgeting guide. It was a contract, a neat little tool to move things out of my hands and into Karen's. It said, authorized financial reassignment for family redistribution purposes. They didn't just cancel my wedding. They reallocated my life. I returned to the living room and dropped the papers on the table. I moved with a new kind of focus. I opened my laptop, created a new folder, and labeled it restitution. Then I opened an email to Julia. Subject, this ends now. The body was short and precise. You've taken enough from me. If you continue, I will take back everything. Legally, publicly, permanently. Consider this your last warning. I clicked send. For the first time in forever, I felt the knot in my chest loosen. I wasn't waiting for a reply. I just shut the laptop and walked to the window. The silence didn't last. A notification from Facebook buzzed on my phone. Karen had posted something. She called me unstable, accused me of fabricating stories, and claimed I was lashing out because I couldn't handle not being the center of attention. Julia liked the post. Lael left a heart reaction. My stomach turned, but I didn't cry. Instead, I took a screenshot and saved it to my restitution folder. If they thought this would break me, they hadn't been paying attention. I called Mara, a family friend. She answered, her voice cautious. I saw Karen's post. You okay? I was wondering if you'd want to meet up, I said. I don't think that's a good idea, she replied. Your mom's people listen to her, Jenny. She helped my cousin get into that law firm. I can't risk it. I thanked her and hung up, confirming what I already knew. Julia's power ran through this town like a quiet current no one dared to swim against. At dusk, I called Karen. She answered, expecting a fight. I'm only going to say this once, I said. Take down the post. She laughed. You sound paranoid. Just like Mom said. I'm not asking for belief, I said. I'm asking for space. If you keep this up, I won't stay quiet, and I won't just defend myself. I'll dismantle every version of this family you're clinging to. Is that a threat? She snapped. No, I said. That's a boundary. I ended the call. 2 hours later, there was a knock at my door. A courier handed me an envelope. Inside, a legal notice, beneficiary revocation. As of this date, I was removed from all family estate considerations. You are no longer considered part of this family's future. I felt no rush of heat, just a long, slow breath. I folded the paper and set it next to the screenshots. They thought they'd buried me, but all they'd done was draw a line. For the first time in my life, I was ready to step over it. I opened my laptop. There were 2 versions of myself stored in my spreadsheets. The woman they saw scattered, unfocused, always a step behind. And the woman they didn't, meticulous, prepared, quiet, because she knew numbers never needed to shout. It took nearly 3 hours to go line by line. Every Venmo transaction Karen had ever requested. Every bank draft where I covered their utilities. Every florist receipt from the wedding they claimed I hadn't paid for. The total sat just above $38,000. I printed the pages, slipped them into plastic sleeves, and labeled the binder Ledger of Record. I wasn't building a case. I was building a wall. The next day, my phone vibrated with a flurry of notifications. Login failed, shared Dropbox folder. Access revoked, joint house account. I called the bank. There was a change submitted last night, the rep said. A power of attorney form from Mr. Lyle Monroe, revoking your ownership. Was it notarized? Yes, ma'am. Then you'll need to see my file, I said. I'm sending over documents now. Until you sort this out, freeze the account. That money is in dispute. Within 20 minutes, the freeze was confirmed. That evening, my phone rang again. An unknown number, but I recognized the area code. It was my old banker's office. Ms. Monroe, this is Allison. I think it would be best if you came in tomorrow. We received a document this morning that lists your signature, but something about it didn't sit right with me. It references property reassignment, partial title transfer on a home under the Monroe family umbrella. My chest didn't tighten. Keep it secure, I said. I'll be in at 9. I've got plenty of paperwork that contradicts what you received. They had picked the wrong thing to forge. The next morning, I stepped into the office in navy, clean and professional. At 9:26 a.m., a man in a gray blazer handed me a document tube and a clipboard. You've been served, he said. I sat at my desk and peeled the seal open. Civil complaint. Monroe v. Monroe. They accused me of embezzling family funds, claimed I had repeated emotional instability. The lawsuit didn't just seek money. It sought to label me untrustworthy, volatile, and dangerous. I closed the packet, opened my email, and typed, subject, re-defamation claim, Monroe family. Add this filing to our counterclaim, I wrote. Defamation, malicious intent, reputational damage. Let's respond swiftly. I didn't need revenge that made noise. I needed revenge that came with a docket number. A call came through on my work line from Victor Lang, my mother's PR shield. You might want to let this play out quietly, he said, smoothing his tone. The noise dies faster if you don't feed it. You're worried about Julia's image, I replied. You should be. It's hanging by a thread. And this time she's the one who handed me the scissors. He hung up. That evening, Julia posted on Facebook, "It's hard being a mother. Sometimes when pain twists a child's view, all they can see is betrayal." The comments poured in. I printed the post, all 57 comments, and handed them to my attorney. "Don't respond," she said. "I won't, but you will." 3 days later, an email came through. Court date confirmed. Monroe v. Monroe, Civil Division, Room 204, hearing set for 3 weeks out. I stared at the date, then at my reflection in the kitchen window. They wanted to embarrass me, silence me, redefine me, but the only thing they'd accomplished was sharpening my resolve. "You want a public fight? Fine," I said to myself. "I'm bringing every truth you buried." After I closed the email, I walked straight to the living room window, pulled back the curtain, and stared out into the quiet evening stillness. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and created a new folder titled Truth. My first post had no preamble, no emotional introduction, just a headline: "My name is Jenny Monroe, and here's what they erased." Underneath, I dropped in screenshots one by one. Bank transfers from my account to Karen's. The agreement my mother had handwritten. A shaky video of Julia's voice. "If you love him, you'll sign it. If you don't, you'll destroy everything we've built for you. Do you want to be another mistake?" I hit post. When I woke up the next morning, the thread had been shared over 3,000 times. At 7:02 a.m., my phone rang. "Jenny, what the hell are you doing?" Karen's voice was brittle. "I'm telling the truth," I said simply. "You've made Mom look bad. You think they'll love you for tearing us apart in public?" "No," I replied calmly. "I think they'll understand that I stopped letting someone else define me. She tore us apart behind closed doors. I just stopped pretending it didn't happen." By noon, my lawyer called to confirm we were ready to submit the final counterclaim. An old family accountant had come forward after reading my post. In her notarized letter, she confirmed that Julia had rerouted donations meant for a charity. Accounts set up under my name into a separate trust controlled by her and my father. This wasn't just an ugly divorce from my family. It was financial fraud. The updated counterclaim listed breach of fiduciary duty, financial misrepresentation, and emotional distress. 3 weeks later, I sat in the courtroom. The judge, an older woman with a voice that brooked no posturing, asked for facts only. "This isn't a reality show," she said bluntly. Julia's side tried to argue emotional instability, but provided no clinical documentation. The ruling was measured, independent audits to be conducted, and I was granted temporary legal authority over disputed funds. Julia didn't speak. Karen stormed out. Lyle followed. I didn't smile. This wasn't about walking out victorious. This was about finally standing. 2 weeks passed before I returned to the Monroe house, what used to be home. I arrived unannounced, holding a manila folder with the final settlement papers. The door was unlocked. The hallway smelled the same, but it didn't feel like it belonged to me anymore. I placed the folder on the kitchen table, then pulled my old keys from my coat pocket and set them on top. I didn't knock. I just stepped out and let the door click shut behind me. A few days later, a plain white envelope arrived at my apartment. Inside was a personal check. The memo read, "Reimbursement for dress, venue, and emotional damages." The amount was an exact match for what I'd tallied in one of my earliest spreadsheets. No note, no apology. I didn't cash it. I framed it under a small brass plate I had, engraved, proof that they knew. It didn't make me whole, but it told me I hadn't imagined any of it. A week later, I heard from Mara again. "I saw what you did," her message read. "If you ever need a partner for what's next, I'm in." I was sitting at a cafe, a new document open on my laptop. Monroe and Wells, Advocacy and Legal Planning for Women in Crisis. The idea had been brewing ever since the courthouse, because for every woman like me who found her way through the noise, there were 10 more still stuck inside it. I set my mug down and typed the first sentence of the mission statement. "Freedom isn't loud," I whispered to myself. "Sometimes it's just the sound of no one calling you back. Sometimes the hardest battles aren't fought in courtrooms or over dinner tables. They're the ones where you finally choose yourself over being accepted." If there's one thing I've learned, it's that family isn't built on silence or submission. It's built on respect, accountability, and the freedom to speak your truth, even when it shakes the room. I didn't win by hurting them. I won by stepping away, by reclaiming the parts of me they tried to rewrite. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Closure doesn't always look like justice served in headlines. Sometimes it's just peace and a quiet morning where no one's trying to control your life anymore. What about you? Have you ever stayed silent to keep the peace, only to realize you were sacrificing yourself in the process? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If this story resonated with you, drop a 1 in the comments, or tell me where you're watching from. If it didn't sit right with you, let me know why. I'm here to listen. You deserve to be heard. Let's keep the conversation going.